right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to the Veterans Workshop. My name is Beth Dutton, Vice President of Sales and Business Development at Sinceri Senior Living. Our topic today is the Veterans Benefits to Pay for Care through the Aide in Attendance Program. At Sinceri Senior Living, we really strive to be the experts in helping families find solutions that best meet their loved ones' needs. Part of this professional obligation is to stay abreast of financial solutions that may benefit families. We currently care for over 4,700 residents across 19 states and provide independent, assisted living, memory care, and respite care. So we really hope that we have the opportunity to help you soon. There are three main questions that come up when families or individuals start looking into senior living. Number one, when is the best time to move? Number two, how can I start a conversation with my loved one? And number three is a topic we're going to be talking about today. How can we pay for senior living? And the veterans benefit is one way. So we hope during this session you walk away with an understanding of the Aide in Attendance program so you can make informed decisions. This session will include what is Aide in Attendance, pension program, and who qualifies, income versus care costs. And finally, we're offering $1,500 off a first month's rent for individuals that move into one of our communities by December 14th. It's now my sincere pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Molly Covington. She's the Director of Senior Living Partnerships with Patriots Angels. Patriots Angels is a Tennessee-based company that assists veterans and their spouses nationwide with applying for VA benefit Aide in Attendance. She joined the company in 2019 and works with senior living providers to connect their veteran clients with the support and expertise Patriots Angels provides, thus allowing our nation's heroes to pay for care. So without further ado, Molly is here to talk about this great program.
Thank you, Beth. I'll go ahead and share my screen for everyone. And thank you all so much for joining. We are, just days away from Veterans Day. It is this Saturday. So in recognition of that, this webinar is very important. I think that there's so many veterans that need assistance. Many of them are of the age that they need a little bit more care. That kind of care that Sinceri provides. So today I want you to take away if you or a loved one could qualify, how to go about getting the benefits that they deserve. And ask any questions. This is recorded. We will be sending this out, so you'll have a copy of this and the slides. I saw that question come through. To introduce myself, like Beth said, I've been with Patriot Angel since 2019. When I first joined, I didn't know anything about veterans benefits, senior living, to be frank. But through the years of me working here, I've learned so much, and I've been able to inform so many other families of benefits out there. Even my own grandmother, 2 years ago, had to go to assisted living. And that really opened me up to, understanding what families go through and knowing the cost, right? It's very expensive. So what we touch on today is going to help ease the burden of the financial cost. So your family member or yourself, you can get that quality care you deserve. So to start off, I want to tell you a little bit about Patriot Angels. We were created in 2011, and what we do as far as our assistance with veterans is we help them gauge their eligibility for benefits, and if they'd like, we can help them apply for those. We're our own private company. We don't work for the VA. We were created because many families had a need for a little bit more extra hand-holding than they would get trying to get benefits on their own. So really walking through and helping families that are already stressed out, right? Trying to find a community, trying to figure out how to pay for care. They need someone on their side. They need an advocate. So that's what we are. We're a team of advocates that help families get VA benefits. A specific benefit that we prioritize and help them apply for is called Aide in Attendance. That is a monthly pension from the VA. It's specifically designed to help veterans and spouses pay for the cost of care at a Sincere senior living community, for example. What I'm showing you on the screen right now are all of the pension amounts for 2023 for veterans and spouses. And now this list, this is the maximum amount that they could get monthly, and I'll run through those. So our single veteran would be a veteran with no dependents. The maximum they could get a month from this pension is $2,229. A veteran with one dependent, so that's going to be our married couple, a veteran with a spouse, that's $2,642 a month they could receive. A surviving spouse could receive $1,432 a month. And then lastly, is the max anyone could get. And that's when we have two veterans that are married to each other and both of them meet the requirements. The requirements that I'll talk about here in a second, have to do with service, financial information like income and assets. But if they meet all the requirements, then they can get $3,536. That would go a long way towards rent every month in senior living. To start with determining who qualifies, we want to look at service time and the type of service and discharge that the veteran had. So one, we look to see they're 65 or older or 100% disabled. Two, they had to serve at least 90 days of active duty with 1 day at least during a wartime period. In the upcoming slide, I'll show the different war times that qualify, but just keep this in mind, at least 90 days of active duty and just 1 day needs to be within a wartime period. And then lastly, for the service requirement, they did have to receive an honorable medical or general discharge. Anything else would not work. Here are those dates that I spoke about. So these are concrete dates. These are, the VA has this rule right here. They have to have at least 1 day during these periods. The only time there's really a chance for wiggle room is going to be Vietnam era veterans. And so that's what that parentheses where it says dates may vary if boots on ground in Vietnam. I put that in there because if we have someone, for example, that calls in a Patriot Angels and wants to, see if mom or dad qualifies, and they tell us, my dad served 60 to 62, right? Well, if we go just off of that and don't ask any follow-up questions, then he wouldn't meet the requirement because, he served in between Korea and Vietnam based off the VA's dates. But we do ask the follow-up question, was dad ever in the country Vietnam during those 2 years? If the answer is yes, then we could go ahead and move forward because he was actually boots on ground in Vietnam. So we do ask that question as well. But other than that, that's the really only exception. They do have to have at least 1 day of service during a time period listed on the screen. Some families call us and they couldn't even give us a guess of when dad served, and that's okay. We do need that information to determine eligibility. So we ask the family if they have access to the veteran's discharge records. And some families don't. They've lost that over the years, several moves. They may have never had it. So if that's the case and that's something that you're looking into, we would refer you to Angels Research is our sister company that helps families with this in recovering those documents. The most common one, the DD-214. If you have one of those, hold on to it real tight. You'll need it for several things. But as far as applying for this particular benefit we help with, you do need that document. So if you don't have it, I did include their information into this presentation. They're a resource. The National Archives is a resource. But if you need that document, don't lose hope. You can still get it. So, but that's there for you as a resource for getting that information as far as the service dates to help you better determine eligibility. Now, it is the VA benefit for veterans, but also for spouses. We work with thousands of spouses a year to help them get benefits. Now, their benefit amounts a little less, but we can still apply for them. Now, there are some requirements when it comes to the spouse. So the VA needs to see that they never divorced the veteran, and that if the veteran passed, they cannot have remarried after the veteran's passing. So we do need to know that information, as well as they did have to be married a full year. It sounds silly. Many of the spouses we speak to over the phone when we're doing the screening, when we ask that, they laugh, right? Because they've been married 40, 50, 60 years. But we still ask it. It's a requirement. I myself, when I first started, asked that question to a spouse on the phone, assuming she would say yes. And she said, well, no, my veteran died after 6 months of marriage of a massive heart attack. I'm never remarried. And so that's unfortunate. So we do ask that it needs to be married at least a full year. So we covered one of the main requirements, which is the service requirements. So we discussed that. The next thing that the VA looks at to determine if the veteran or the spouse could qualify for this monthly pension is they look at their finances. So first, to break that down, we'll discuss income. So there's not a set number, okay? That's if you make this much monthly, you're disqualified. They look at it more so to compare what you bring in versus what you're paying out for care or will be paying out for care. So I use this example on the screen. If we have a veteran that calls us and with his Social Security and retirement pensions, say he brings in $3,000 monthly, okay? But what he's paying out currently in senior living, any care services, his rent, that's $4,500. Then the VA can see that, this gentleman, this veteran, he's negative every month, right? All of his income goes towards his care cost, and they can step in and award him this pension, right? If it was flipped and someone's bringing in $4,500 monthly income, but they only pay out $3,000, well, the VA can then see, compare those two numbers and can see that they have it covered. And so there's no need to justify stepping in and awarding them a supplemental benefit when they have it covered. So that's what they look at. Like I said, there's not a specific number. It's just more so comparing it to what they pay out monthly. And this is gross income. So that's what they look at. And when I say care cost, that could be the cost of, assisted living, memory care, independent living, that meet the qualifications. And we go through that to determine if that independent living community does. It also covers in-home care. We have some families that they have mom, in the home and they pay for in-home care, and then they make the transition into senior living. You can do that and still not lose the benefit. So keep that in mind. Now, what they look at that does have that specific number is the assets. So for liquid assets, the VA has a set cap for 2023 at least. It's $150,538. When I say liquid assets, I put the kind of example of what I mean. That's combined checking, savings accounts, stocks, bonds, CDs, IRAs, money markets, additional properties outside of one home. They allow you to have one home in a car that aren't counted against you, but anything additional that's in your name will. So of all the things considered assets combined, it cannot exceed that amount. If it does, you don't qualify at this time. Now you could in the future, especially if you move into senior living and you're, paying quite a bit every month, that'll spin down naturally. They have a 3-year look back. So if you see, oh, wow, I'm way over that, but I'd like to get this benefit, I'll just, gift money to my grandkids. Don't do that. They have a 3-year look back to prevent those things. So, gifting and transfers of money, they'll flag that. Now, Patriot Angels, we have helped over 18,000 families get approved for this particular VA pension. And that's just honestly because of our expertise and knowledge. of what the VA requires. We work under a VA accredited attorney who specializes in elder law and VA benefits, and her name is Victoria Collier. So under her, we have helped thousands of clients get approved for benefits. And that's because we know what the VA needs, and we're sending them with your application everything that they need to approve your claim. There are several documents, right, that the VA has to see. There's some that we can't get our hands on ourselves. So when we work with a family, we'll still need you to gather, the DD 214 or a marriage certificate, a death certificate, bank statements, right? We can't get our hands on that. So we do work with the family and hold your hand and advise you what we need from you, how to get it. And then the rest of it we do ourselves, building that claim, making sure it is approval ready. On average, it takes about 97 days once our claims are submitted to the VA for those to come back approved. We've had some come back faster, some take a little bit longer, depending on who at the VA's desk it lands on. But on average, 97 days is our turnaround time for our clients to then start receiving those funds. And I'll tell you what, our clients call us and a lot of times they're crying because those funds are life-changing. It makes the difference. It gives you more choices when you have this benefit coming in. The quality care, the really nice place you didn't think you'd be able to afford and get mom moved into, you can. And that's what we want. We want the best care for veterans and spouses, and just making sure that this benefit is in their hands. So many people don't know about it. And I just want to thank Sinceri for putting this together. And we saw the list of questions that you guys sent in and the interest, and I know that there's interest there in additional funds. So I just want to let make you aware of what's out there and available to you. You don't have to use Patriot Angels. You can go to your local VA for assistance. Now, as far as that, they might not have, quick turnaround time like we do, but that's an option as well. As a private company, we do screenings at no cost to the client, but we do have a cost if they move forward for their legal assessment. And that's $1,295. That's the only fee our families pay, $1,295. But we then, like I said, do the screenings at no cost. Call us anytime to determine, if this is something your family could qualify for. With the VA report that came out last year, of all of the approved claims for this particular benefit, our small company in Hendersonville, Tennessee, did 16.4% of all of those approved claims. So we're really proud of that. This is a federal benefit, so it works in every state. I saw that question come through a lot. So no matter where you are, you can get this. It is required that you are, paying out of pocket for care at home or in senior living. So, you do have to be moved in at the time you go to file. But you can get it anywhere. And I know that Beth and Missy are happy to answer questions as far as, any Sinceri communities in your area. But this benefit will go a long way in helping you pay for rent and get moved into one of their communities. So I will open it up for some questions. I included some commonly asked questions that were asked on a regular basis. One is, does the claimant have to reapply every year? And no, unless the VA reaches out and is asking for additional information, or if something happens and mom or dad they move out of a community and they're not paying for any care, they may take it away, right? And then you might have to reapply again. But no, you shouldn't have to. This is not something you have to reapply every year, unless they've taken it away because of, additional income you came into. Maybe you sold a home and that now gives you additional income over their asset cap. But the baseline answer is no. And then another question we get asked a lot is, did I have to be married to the veteran at the time that they were in the service? So spouses ask us this a lot because they think that they had to be married while the veteran was serving. And that's not the case. As long as you're married to the veteran at the time of his passing, that's what they look at. And then the next question we get asked a lot circles back to the very beginning when we discussed the service requirements. And that is, does active duty training count towards the 90 days of active duty requirement? And it does not. So when we hear, reserves, National Guard, we have to, if it's only reserve and the only active duty you had was the training, that doesn't count. And that information's on the DD 214 as well, so they can send that in to us, but training does not count towards that 90 days. And then lastly, one of the questions we get asked a lot is the veteran was not injured during their service, but can they still get this benefit? And yes, they can. This is different than disability, right? This is a non-service connected benefit. So they just look at the service time and when they served, and not that they, had any kind of injuries or illnesses from their time in the service. So I would love, Beth, I see some questions in the chat. How many months, years can they receive the benefit for? I see that Deborah put that in the chat. Deborah, that's a great question. This is a lifetime benefit. So as long as they are, for the rest of their life, going to be paying for long-term care, that's when this benefit can work, and it's a lifetime benefit. And then Mike earlier had asked about the reservist. So if they didn't have any active duty, they would not qualify. He said, how about Coast Guard? They would. If they have the 90 days active duty, they would. And then Elisa Saul also asked, if the veteran served in the reserve during wartime but was never boots on the ground in combat zone, are they still eligible? If they were serving during wartime and it was active duty, that works. You said never boots on ground in combat zone. I would just ask the years, Elisa. So I'm happy to, we're going to share my information after this when we post this and talk to you about your veterans. But if they were reserves and didn't have 90 days of active duty, it wouldn't work no matter if they were, in combat or not. It has to have active duty time. Mike asked another great question. He said, are assets looked at as a couple's combined assets? Yes. So when we're, applying for, say, a veteran with one dependent, his one dependent's assets we have to take into account. So they would combine those assets, and both of them, their assets combined cannot exceed that $150,000 amount that we spoke of. Lisa, that's a great question. I'm so happy you asked that. So Lisa asked, what about if the dependent is in a Sinceri facility and the veteran is still living at home? So Lisa, if that dependent is the spouse of the veteran, we could actually apply for that spouse alone while that veteran is still at home and not needing care. That is a benefit amount that's actually more than the surviving spouse. It's $1,750, I believe, for this year. So yes, that's available if that dependent you speak of is the spouse of the veteran. Susan asked, is the benefit affected when Medicaid takes over? So it is. Most states would leave you about $90. So if you get this first, enjoy this benefit for a few years, and then things change, and then you have to go on Medicaid. Most times it just makes this benefit just only $90 of it. The veteran is living and married, but the spouse is the one who needs long-term care. Can the benefit be applied to the spouse? That is that benefit that we discussed, the $1,750 amount. Yes, we can just do the spouse and apply for her. Technically, she's not a surviving spouse, but that is what we would apply for. If the veteran is still at home, doesn't need care, we would just apply for the spouse. So Catherine asked about, they had bought a home, it's on 15 acres. How would that factor in? So any properties in the veteran or spouse's name, so they're only allotted to have a home with 2 acres max. That's not included in their assets. They'll let you have that. Anything outside of the 2 acres, they would count the value of. So 13 acres, we would have to see how much the value of that, and then add that towards that asset amount that we spoke of, the 150,000. And then, yes, so a lot of people are asking about the charges that we have. We have the one fee if they've moved forward through the screening process, and want us to take them on as a client. It's the $1,295. That's for our legal long-term care assessment. Basically, our attorney signs off that you are a good candidate for this benefit and researches any other state or federal benefits you could also be eligible for. And we'll help you apply for this one, but at least you have that knowledge going forward or what else you can tack on to the VA aid and attendance. But that's where our fee comes into place. So just to call and to go through eligibility screenings, there's no cost to that. So you can please reach out to us if you have any specific questions about your situation. But that's where the charge is after the screening. Once a client wants to move forward, they'll pay for the long-term care assessment under the legal team. Like I said, we work under an accredited attorney. You have to, in order to help veterans and spouses on this level. And so with that, that's where that fee comes into place. Is the income versus care based on the total income of the couple or just the income for the veteran? The couple. So that's going to be the couple and their dependent. If they file taxes together, that's going to be the couple is what they look at as far as their income. Beth, have you seen any other questions come through that I might not have answered?
If you could just explain the $90 again regarding Medicaid, what they're left if they go on Medicaid. I think that was the last question that they re-asked.
Okay. Yeah. So if someone is getting this benefit, say they got it when mom was in assisted living, and say a few years have passed and she's now in a nursing home, and is got approved for Medicaid, that say she's getting 1432, in most cases that then becomes just $90. Medicaid would claim the rest of it. So that's what I meant with that $90. It just goes from once you get approved for Medicaid, it becomes basically it goes away and they just leave you with that amount.
And the last question, I'll just read this just to clarify the look back period. If we sell a secondary house and pay off debt, does that count against us?
So once you go to apply, as long as when you sold that home and you paid off that debt, after paying off that debt, you're still under that 150,000 cap, then you're fine. So it's just when you go to apply, you can't be over that amount, otherwise you would get denied. So by the time you sell that secondary home, you pay off that debt, and after you pay off that debt, you're still under that cap, then you're okay.
All right. I think we've answered all those questions. Great questions. And I just want to clarify, Molly, that you'll be sharing your contact information in the follow-up that we'll be sending out to every participant.
I will. And I would love if they reached out, especially regarding some of the more specific questions to your family. I'd be happy to speak with you on the phone or through email about those. And because I know everyone's family is different, has a different, financial situation or, home situation. So when we finish this up, I'll get the list of emails and then go ahead and reach out and thank you all for coming and make sure that you're able to follow up with me to pursue, looking into eligibility.
Excellent. Well, Molly, I want to thank you for providing this important information from Patriots Angels. And again, we will be sending an email information just as a follow-up. So please don't hesitate on contacting Molly from Patriots Angels. They're a great resource, and I've certainly used them over my past history. So thank you, Molly, and thank you everyone from attending.
Thank you.